Hi, everybody. I am glad that you came. I'm glad you're here, Bobby. I appreciate you showing up for my Tuesday tea talk. So, tonight, this talk has been inspired by pretty well all the other talks that I have had. So, I am basically going to talk about two different ways to look at your food. So, on a science based as a nutrition coach, and also with some herbal wisdom in there. So, first of all, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Nikki. I'm your nutritional gardener, and I'm here to help you grow your health from the ground up. So, I do this by teaching you how to grow your own food, the most nutrient dense food possible, so that way it actually supports the life that you want to live. So, tonight, again, like I said, I'm going to be talking about something that really has hit me hard lately and got me thinking because I have had some really great speakers. On my Tuesday Tea Talk, and I look forward to having many more. But it has really taught me that I am really looking at and serving my clients through only one lens. So, as a nutrition coach, what I do is I look at food on a very science based way. When I think about like your nutrients, your fiber, your antioxidants, minerals, vitamins, all of that. So, I look at that and how it supports specific body systems. So, like, to take spinach, for instance, spinach is my favorite. It's magnesium rich. So, what this food does is it helps support our nervous system and reduces inflammation in the body. So, or like berries. Berries, for instance, is another really good one. It's high in antioxidants, which helps reduce inflammation as well. But there is a whole complete other lens that I have been overlooking, and that is the herbalist perspective. So this actually looks at the actions the plant takes in the body. Uh, so we're talking about things like bitters. Like last week, we talked a lot about bitters, and I was kind of confused on what they were saying. I knew what a bitter was, but I didn't. That's not my terminology. They have other words like demulcents and carminatives, I think is how you say that. But it's less about an herbalist perspective is less about the nutrients, and it's more about what the plant does when it enters your system and it enters your body. So that's what I'm going to touch on tonight. I'm going to touch on both approaches, and I'm going to explain how they're very, very different, but they're also very similar, and how I fully intend to, in my practice as a nutritional gardener, incorporate both of them. So, first of all, let's look at the nutrition perspective. So, when I coach, um, when I approach food as a nutrition coach, I am looking at measurable components. Your vitamins A, C, K, all the vitamins. And then we have minerals that are like your zinc, iron, magnesium. But I also look at things like your macronutrients. We look at your protein intake, your carbs, your healthy fats, and of course, my favorite is the fiber. That's for your gut health. But there's other approach or other things that I look at, like your antioxidants that helps inflammation, and your phytonutrients that helps your overall cellular health. But you know, with this, I can specifically point out studies that show how blueberries help with reducing oxidative stress, or your green leafies like vegetables are full of magnesium, so this helps with stress management. So this is evidence based. This is measurable. It's predictable. It's really helpful for clients that want like a specific number, a tangible number that we can address certain health issues, to help support your gut or reduce inflammation or level out your blood sugar. So, um, spinach is spinach is loaded with magnesium, fiber, and also antioxidants. So this is one of the examples I use quite a bit because it's super nutrient dense. But as a nutrition lens, through a nutrition's lens, you can see that how it can help support your digestion and your metabolic health. Now, don't get me wrong, I can't rattle off every single food and all the nutrients that's in every single food that I grow or that we eat. But I can, however, I can find that information. And that's what I do as a nutrition coach is I can 100% answer these questions because if I don't know them off the top of my head, then I find the research for you and I deliver it to you. Now, I do have to stress because I am not a doctor. I don't claim to treat or cure any kind of conditions. I just show you the evidence. I support you and lead you to the right place um, to help, guide you in a better health. That's kind of the foundation of what I teach. It's more science based and understanding food as medicine through a nutrient standpoint. Now, on an herbalist perspective, um, they I don't know a whole lot about herbalism because I'm just dabbling into it a little bit now. Um, they don't look at they don't look at food or nutrients in the same way that a nutrition coach would or a nutritionist would. They instead look at what the plant does inside the body. So I actually wrote down some things that way I would have them. So some examples are things like bitters. Bitters help stimulate digestion and bile. This helps support your liver function. We have the carminatives that ease your gas, bloating, and your gut discomfort. Demulcents help smooth your mucous membrane and your digestive tract, and then your nervines will help calm your nervous system. So this is all things that I am learning. I am not. I've heard of all of these words before. We all probably have, but as far as getting into the terminology, it's very different. It's a very different approach than a science-based way. So I know last week we talked about like dandelion greens. Um, from my perspective, I look at the fact that it's high in certain vitamins like A and K, and it helps to support your gut and your liver because of the fiber and the antioxidants. So that's where my perspective is. Now, on an herbalist, they may say it's a bitter, like we discussed last week. So bitters, I have found, stimulates bile flow and it helps support or promote digestion. So both are true. They're just using different language to explain. Does that make sense? Um, so let's see here. Another thing about herbalism is it's more experimental and more functional. So throughout the years, through over centuries of time, people have observed how these plants interact and how they affect the human body. So its focus is less on the exact number or like a nutrient chart and more on how the plant actually behaves once it gets inside your body to help support certain things and um, balance your wellness over time. Um, there is a lot of similarities, but there is also some differences. So both definitely claim to support your body systems. So all of our systems, like our digestive system, our liver function, our immune system, um, regulating blood sugar, they all support that. Both sides do support that. They both definitely guide people in a better food choice to help improve their health. Um, they both consider food as medicine. One is just through the nutrient side, and another is through how the plant interacts with your body. So, and I think both of them really can be used daily on a daily practice once you are familiarize yourself with them. But whenever they combine together, that's when I feel like you're really able to get in depth and understand why certain foods are really beneficial for you. So the differences, um, sorry, I have to change my notes. There are some differences. So when I, as a nutrition coach, look at food, we use different languages, which we spoke about this earlier, but um, often you'll hear your macros, balancing your macros, or make sure you're getting your daily value of certain vitamins and increasing your fiber, making sure you're balancing your minerals and your vitamin levels. These I can track. I can measure each one and then I compare them. So it's again more scientific. Now, an herbalist looks at food and the language itself shifts completely different to certain terms like your lymphatic system and your lymphatic. Again, the carminatives, diaphoretics is another term, and even adaptogens. We've all heard of the adaptive mushrooms, and which this is what these terms describe how these plants will support each system in the body. So you really have to understand what these words are and the definitions of them to be able to relate them to the food that you eat. Now, from a nutrition coaching approach, or from that lens, we also use science-based language. So this is where the science of, instead of the adaptogens, we'll use antioxidants, the micronutrients, phytonutrients. This describes what's in the food, not what the food does to you. So this is actually what the food contains and how those certain compounds will help support your cells and increase your metabolism. Um, Herbalists use functional based language. So instead of like your macro, your nutrients like that, it's going to say things like how the plants behave. So it gently stimulates, it soothes the gut, calms your nervous system. It's kind of more descriptive language on what it does to the system. So nutrition coaching is definitely built mainly on research and clinical labs and clinical studies. There's a lot of biochemistry involved, and we look at your metabolism and even dive into like human traits. So it's more, again, it's backed by science. And I know this can be kind of controversial as far as like the science of things, but and I'm not saying one approach is better than the other at all. As far as the nutrition side of it and the backed side of it, it shows how these specific nutrients can directly affect your body in measurable outcomes. Like we can measure the effects of it. We can take a blood sample and see what your levels are, and be able to, you know, manage those levels. Now, as far as an herbalist, what their work, it's mainly on over a long period of time. So traditional uses, long-term observations. I know that there was a study that I spoke about in one of my Zooms with my nutrition colleagues about chamomile and how chamomile can actually build up over time in your body and act as your natural melatonin. So it helps increase that melatonin if it's used consistently. It's not going to happen immediately, but over time of consistent use, then they can actually see that's the effect that it has. So to help support sleep and things. So there is kind of measurable, but it's over a long period of observation. So then there's been generations of people that actually have studied herbalism and has been more observation kind of technique than measurable technique. So uh, the biggest difference between the two methods is not necessarily their goals, because ultimately the goal of a nutrition coach and a herbalist is to get you to better health. So both of these approaches have the same goal in mind, but it's what the practitioner is asking. Like, what's the first question that you ask your clients? So as a nutrition coach, or not necessarily your clients, but to problem solve. So I would start with like, what nutrients does this person need to help support the goal that they're trying to achieve? So that's where I would look. And that's what makes the nutrition so great for diving into like clear and trackable support, like planning your meals and boosting up your fiber or balancing your blood sugar, because it's trackable. You can keep track of like your metabolism, even like everything can be measurable and compared. Now, in the plant action approach side of it, they're usually asking what body function needs support right now. So in this approach, it's super helpful for like everyday function or more like preventative support. So like supporting your digestion or, getting rid of your waste and calming your nervous system. So this is kind of what I would say would be the preventative. It's your preventative maintenance before we get to trackable results. Both are extremely intentional, but they're just simply coming from a different perspective. Now, I think the magic will happen whenever both of these approaches are combined. So instead of looking at your food that is high in magnesium, you can also compare it and say, well, it's also a bitter. And so a bitter helps boost your digestion, which is also help is what magnesium will do too. So it's both the same, just using different terms. Now, blueberries is another superfood that I think everybody should eat daily. They're really good and high in antioxidants. Well, I can say it's high in antioxidants, um, but it's also considered, I believe, it's called an alternative, which I thought was kind of a crazy word for a name, but an alternative. And what this does is helps your body maintain cellular balance. Well, that's what antioxidants do too. So it's looking at it through two different lenses. So I feel like with the combination of both of these as a nutritional gardener, um, I'll be able to explain food in multiple ways to people. So that way it'll be more relatable. Um, and so my clients can take all of this information to use it to improve their health. So here's where I'm going to have you keep me accountable and I'm going to get real personal because y'all know that I like to study and I like to learn. So I have spent years studying nutrition science, functional food, all fiber, gut health, antioxidants, all of this. But anything that can be measured and accounted for and written down basically. So this is where my foundation of nutrition coaching and helping clients every single day, that's where it lies. But now that I know that there's another layer, I have to know more. So I need to know more about the plant action side of it. Um, and this is what herbalists, people that they've used this for centuries to observe plants. So I feel like my goal needs to be is to learn more about this approach. I'm going to keep my science-based knowledge because I already have it with nutrition coaching. Um, and I have the education behind that. But now it's time to deepen my understanding in the plant action. I want to become more familiar with all the terms like um, the ones I've said, demulcents and nervines and carminatives and all of those things. Um, I'm going to try to apply it in every one of my foods. So you guys are going to learn with me if you're following me. Um, all the foods that I grow, all the foods that I consume personally. So that way I can grow an understanding and a better knowledge of this perspective, the evidence, or not the evidence, but the experience side of it. So I have already been researching books that I need to understand and read and study. I am considering taking an herbalism course, not because I want to take over any kind of the herbalist in this community because I don't want to step on toes, but I do want to understand. I think we all should be able to, I think we all should learn a little bit about this, especially whenever you're in a situation like this, because I want to be able to offer as much information as I can to my clients. So I kind of just want to bridge that gap between the nutrition science and the traditional herbal wisdom, if so to speak. So, as a nutrition coach, that's why I feel, and especially a nutritional gardener, like I say, um, that's where I feel like I can be set apart because I can have both the nutrition coaching side and also the herbalism side. So that way I can better serve you. And that's ultimately what I want to do is I want to be the best coach for you. That way, you're getting everything that you need from me. So um, I did write down a few things that a few questions, like as far as my clients that are on here or listening to me later can take instead of trying to remember all the long list of rules, because I did print out a list of all of the herbalism words and it's like 3 pages long. So there's a lot of studying. But I just want you to do like just 3 simple questions whenever you are looking at your food. First, we have to understand what the food provides. Look at it through a nutrition lens. This is where you look at the fiber, your vitamins, your the minerals, the antioxidants that it provides for you. Secondly, you need to look at your food as how it's going to support your body when it enters your body. So this is the action that the plant takes. So your bitters for digestion, um, your carminatives for bloat and gas. Um, the demulcents, I think, will helps protect your gut. So I can print out this list and I would be glad to give it to anybody that is interested in it. You just have to let me know. Um, so that way you can kind of dabble in it yourself. I think it would be really good. Um, that way you're just informed. But the last and third question that I think we should all take into consideration whenever we're looking at our food is when is when is this food going to be most helpful for me? So this is this is like a real life layer because we are all not in the same stages in life. Look at your stress level, how your digestion is. You don't want to enter a ton of fiber into your gut if you don't have a high fiber diet, because it will cause discomfort and will cause bloating. Look at your energy level. You don't want to slam a whole bunch of um, new things onto your plate or into your life if you don't look at all of these other aspects. So it depends on what season you are, and all of that really, really matters. So um, if you're going out to your garden and you grab a piece of kale, I want you to know that it is super high in vitamin K and fiber. That's a nutrition perspective. But I also want you to recognize that this is a bitter food. So you're supporting your digestion and helping your liver. So that is from the herbalist or the plant's action perspective. When you grow your own food, and I stress this all the time, that to plant with intention, but now you can really plant with more intention, not just where the plants are at in your garden, or yes, it helps with it boosts your greens for your magnesium or for your fiber, but also look at it as how is this food going to support my body on a functional way. So look at your food in this way. You're not just eating your salad. You're not just going out and grabbing things from your garden, but you're actually supporting your digestion, your immune system, your nervous system, all of your systems on more than just the nutrient level. So I hope that you can take away this idea that now it's a lot more information, but now you can look at your food and understand your food has more than just one layer. There's science, but there's also function. So as the nutritional gardener that I say I am, I promise that I am going to combine both of these perspectives. So I want to grow and to share food knowledge that is actually useful, um, that is functional, so that way you have all the tools that you need in your garden box, not to only grow your food, but also to nourish your body and understand how you're nourishing your body, not through only nutrients, but also through um, a um, how the plant functions in your body as well. So there's a whole lot of work for me to do, but I'm really excited about it, and I'm really excited to bring this whole new level of nutrition coaching and nutritional gardening focus to the plate. So, what do you think about that, Bobby? You think that's good? All right. Well, that's all I have for this evening. I do have an amazing speaker coming on. She is a, I guess I would consider her a colleague of mine. Her and I went through the same program. She does focus on clarity counseling. So her name is Jennifer, and I have worked with her in the past, and she is an amazing speaker. So make sure that you all come back and see us next Tuesday. I hope this was informative. I'm glad you all came and visited me tonight. So I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
You're welcome.